Hello, once again. We are now going to introduce one problem on spanning trees. But in order to get to that point, we have to have some definitions handy. The first one is that of a connected graph. So a graph is connected if for every two vertices U and V in the collection of vertices of the graph, there is a path in G from U to V. G is a tree if it's connected and acyclic, meaning there is no cycles within the graph itself. And the spanning tree of G is a subgraph of G that is a tree and contains all the vertices of G. So what is that we're trying to achieve here? We want to get a collection, right? A subgraph from the graph that we're presenting here that contains every single vertex, but that is also acyclic. So how do we find that? First of all, is this a connected graph? Of course, we can see that after some exploration, we can move from any pair of vertices to any other, right? We can move from S to T, we can move from S to A, from A to D, from D to B, following different paths, right? The importance is that there is one. Now, so how should we start, right? How should we start this, this calculation? Well, we have a strategy, which is that of breadth first search, meaning we're gonna start at some vertex, and then from that, we're gonna explore in breadth, right? In other words, what are the things that I can visit in a single, using a single edge? So I'll start with this, but in order to start with this construction, I'll have to make some declarations. Look, if I was to start here, I can definitely visit in one step A and D, but I have to make a choice. Should I visit A first or should I visit D first in order for this to become deterministic? So I'm gonna choose really some order. The alphabetic order will suffice for these labels. So implicitly here, I'm saying that A is less than B, is less than C, is less than D, and is less than T. That's just for the order of visitation. So I'll start like this. I'm gonna initiate my, my visit on S. And as I just said, what are the vertices that I can visit from S, meaning the ones that are adjacent to S, right? Well, in this case, I have A and D. Okay, so I'm gonna visit first A. And I'll consider this one as visited. Now, what else in the graph itself is adjacent to S? Well, in this case, D. And I consider this one visited. Okay, are there any other vertices that are adjacent to S? No. So now this time, what we have to do is consider S processed. And now we will process the ones that have been marked. Okay, so which one should we process first? Well, according to the order that we established here, we should process A first. So we ask the same question. Which of the vertices of A are adjacent to A? The ones that we can visit using a single edge? Well, that is B, C, D, and S. Of course, S has already been visited. Now, I cannot visit D, because if I visit D, then I will introduce a cycle. I don't want a cycle, I still want a tree. So the only ones that I can visit without introducing a cycle would be from here, B, and I will consider this as visited. I could also visit C, and in that order, right? And that's it. So now we will consider A as being processed. Okay, now don't forget, I need to process things in the usual order. So I will process B. Okay, which are the vertices adjacent to B that I can visit without introducing a cycle? Well, I could visit really only T, right? I cannot visit C and I cannot visit A as that has been processed already, right? So I will consider this as processed now. And this one has been visited. Now, I'll follow the order. I still need to process C. Okay, so but what about C? What are the vertices adjacent to C that I can visit without introducing a cycle? Well, you cannot visit T. You cannot visit D. And you cannot visit A. So we consider this one as processed. What about D? Well, D, is there anything that is adjacent to D that I can visit without introducing a cycle? No, not really. So I will consider this one as processed. Lastly, I will try to process T, but then I notice that there is nothing that I could visit from T without introducing a cycle. So I will consider now T as processed. And now, let me extract from this part the construction that I just follow in this new color, in this blue. So I have this. I have S, A, D, B, C, T. And look, this graph, well, is a tree as it is connected, but it has no cycles. And it's a spanning tree because it contains every single vertex of the original graph. Now, of course, if I was to choose a different strategy or a different ordering, there's no guarantee that I will obtain exactly the same spanning tree. But I'm gonna leave that for a subsequent video. Let me know if you want something along those. Again, this is not the only strategy, and this is not the only ordering, okay? One more thing that I have to mention is that if the graph was to contain, or it was to be disconnected, meaning that there's at least two different vertices for which there is no path joining them, well, it wouldn't have a spanning tree. Actually, that's an equivalent condition. A graph is connected if and only if it contains a spanning tree. So what would happen if we were to execute the algorithm that we're describing here in a disconnected graph? Well, what you will get is not a spanning tree, but a spanning forest, a collection of trees that are disconnected, right, among themselves. And those spanning trees that you'll find would correspond exactly in number to the connected components of the graph. So, to summarize it, we have a strategy called breadth-first search that we can use to calculate a spanning tree for a connected graph. Now, that's it. Take care.